So this will be the continuation of my previous videos presented to you last meeting, talking about factors affecting test reliability of classroom test instrument. I have already discussed the third one, which is the item difficulty, of which I have given a formula for it, for you to be able to compute the difficulty index or indices of the items in the test paper or in the test question. Now take note, guys, that the test composed of items of moderate of average difficulty will range from 0.30 to 0.70, will have more influence on reliability than those composed primarily to easy or very difficult items. So what we want is at least to have a moderate difficulty in a given item. So that will be considered, that should be considered when we are looking for the item difficulty or for the difficulty indices of the items in our classroom tests. All right. And the third one or the fourth one is the item discrimination, which will be the focus of this discussion for today's video. So in general, tests composed of more discriminating items will have greater reliability than those composed of less discriminating items. The target of this discriminating power is for us to discriminate high group and low group. Okay, so thus the items can discriminate between high and low groups. So if that will be the case, then we can say there is a reliability on that given test items, considering the discriminating power embedded on it. All right, so the discriminating power can be found out by using the formula presented in the presentation, which is given by capital letter U minus capital letter L all over capital letter N. Now take note, guys, that we often use the symbol D sub P as the symbol or representation of the discriminating power. Okay, and capital letter U denotes the number of students in the upper group who answered the item correctly. So you need to know, you need to identify who are those people in the upper group, and or for you to be able to look for the value of your capital letter U. With the same manner with the capital letter L, however, we will concentrate to the lower group. So the capital letter L denotes the number of students in the lower group who answered the item correctly. So we will be considering two groups in this case, the upper group, which is the U, and the lower group, which is the L. However, we will only take those students who get the item correctly, okay, as part of the capital letter U and as part of the capital letter L in the formula. For the denominator in the formula, which is capital letter N, this will be the number of students in each group. Okay, number of students in each group. Now, for the steps, for you to facilitate the computation of the discriminating power, we need to follow the following steps. I have identified 6 steps when computing discriminating power of an item. Now, the first step displays that after you have corrected the papers, arrange them from highest to lowest. Take note on that. After you have corrected the papers, arrange them from the highest to lowest, and the highest at the top and the lowest at the bottom. So it's just like from the upper portion will be the highest scores, arranged in an array going down to the lowest score. So that will be the arrangement of the test scores of the students. on that particular or test scores of the student. Take 27%. Take 27% of the group at the upper level. Thus, if you have 100 students, say for example, just count 27 beginning from the top. So, since yung 27% of 100 is 27, so medyo madali lang malocate kung ilan yung magiging members ng upper group mo. In that case, kasi 100 means it represented by 100%. So, 27% means we are getting 27 members or individuals on that 100 total number of students. So, 27 will be taken on the upper group, on the upper portion. We will call them as the bright group, and another 27% will be taken from the lower part of the arrangement of the data. Okay, so in that case, we will again take 27% below yung arrangement natin, starting from the lowest value or lowest score going up. Basta mabuo mo yung 27 individuals na yan, sila na yung magre-represent ng slow group na tinatawag. So dito ka na magko-concentrate sa dalawang 27 na ito, 27 for the upper group or the bright group, 27 for the low group or the bottom group. Okay, so ito yung concentration natin. Now, what do we do for the 46% na natira among these 100 people? Ang gagawin natin dyan is we will disregard. Hindi natin yan papakialaman kasi ang concentration ng discriminating power is to identify bright groups and slow groups. Okay, so disregard the middle 46%. I hope you can imagine the steps, the second and the third steps. Okay. Then afterwards, we will count the number of students on the upper group who answered the item correctly. So, among these 27 on the upper group, ilan ngayon yung nakakuha ng item na yan, which you are trying to analyze in terms of its discriminating power. Ganon din dito sa baba. Ilan ngayon dito sa 27 na ito who are part of the slow group or lower group na ang nakakuha doon sa item na yon na ina-analyze ninyo. Now, take note guys that we are analyzing every item. So, just like what we did in the difficulty in the index, we have computed difficulty index per item. So, ganun din dito yung gagawin natin for the discriminating power. We will also analyze every item. We will compute discriminating power index per item. Okay, so in number 5 step, what we will do is to count the number of students or count the number of individuals who are member of this bright group who got the item correctly. Okay, ganun din dito sa lower group. Count the number of individuals who got the items correctly. Take note of that. Correctly. So sila na yung magiging values ni capital letter U. Okay, itong capital letter U na to and yung capital letter L. I hope you got it. Number 6, count the number of students in the lower group who answered the item correctly, and that was given to you a while back. Okay. Now, for the interpretation of the indices, we will be focusing on these ranges of the discriminating power, which is the next slide presented. So these are the possible values of the discriminating power. Okay. Itong -1, all right, from -1 up to -0.60, that will be considered as a questionable item. I repeat, the index ranging from -1 to -0.60, that will be considered as a questionable item. So that will be the interpretation of the index, okay, ranging from -1 to negative 0.60. Now, the problem is what do we do then if that will be the case? What if that item is considered to be questionable item with regards to its discriminating power? Ang gagawin natin dyan ngayon as test constructor ay we will now reject automatically the item or that particular item. So, ganun din ang gagawin natin from negative 59 to negative 0.20. Okay? Which is interpreted as not discriminating item. With the same manner with negative 19 to positive 20. So, ang ibig lang sabihin nun, from negative 1 up to positive 0.20, we will reject automatically the item. Magkakaroon tayo kasi ng rejection, retention, okay? Or revision of items in this case. So dito tayo magde-decide, will I revise the item? Will I retain the item? Or will I immediately reject the item basing from the indices given or basing from the index presented of that particular item? Now, what if the range of the values or the range of the index or the indices will come from 0.21 to 0.60, positive 0.21 to positive 0.60. So that's the time to have a discriminating item. Okay, so in this case, there are two possible ways when doing or possible result, okay, if the index will lie from this interval 0.21 to 0.60. It is whether you may retain it or you may not retain it. Ganon lang. Will I retain it? Anyway, pag kulang yung items mo na ginawa to represent all the competencies you want to assess, it's better to retain the item pag nandyan na yung kanyang discriminating power. Pero kung meron ka pang mga extra items that could represent that particular competency, ang gagawin mo ngayon, pwede mong i-revise or pwede mong tanggalin kasi may mga extra items ka pa that would fall on that falls from that particular competency. Okay? So meron kang mga extra items in that case. So pwede mong i-reject or pwede mong i-retain. It's up to you as the test constructor. All right? So that will be considered. From 0.61 to 1.0, that will be a very discriminating item. Yan yung ideal na item in terms of discriminating power. Automatic, we will retain that particular item. Okay? Pero meron tayo naka-emphasize dito na from 0.30 to 0.39, kunana, okay? From 0.30 to 0.39, that will be considered as a fair discriminating item. So we can automatically retain, okay? We can automatically retain that item if that will fall from 0.30 to 0.39. Saka ka lang magre-rating siguro kapag nasa marginal level na yung kanyang discriminating index, which falls from 0.21 to 0.29. Okay? So, ganon yung how about yung 0.40 up to 0.40 up to 0.60? Yung 0.40 up to 0.60, that will be considered as a high level discrimination, so the item will also be retained just like the fair. So from fair up to the very discriminating item, in that case, we will be retaining the items, okay, as it is. So this is all about the discriminating power. So let's try to apply it using my notepad before we proceed to the fifth factor that could affect um, reliability of test instrument. So yung first step natin na sinabi ko kanina is we will arrange the items from lowest to highest. Okay? So let's say for example, I cannot give you any more data. So ang gagawin ko is to draw arrowhead. Itong nasa left part and itong nasa right part. Itong nasa left part, this will be the lowest score, lowest and highest. So yung nasa left part, I repeat, this will be the lowest score, and yung nasa right part will be the highest score. Take note on that. Now, as what we have in the steps for you to be able to compute the discriminating power of the item, we will take 27% after arranging the scores of the students from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. We will take 27% on the lower portion of the arrangement, and on the upper part of the arrangement. So 27% ang kukunin mo dito, 27% din ang kukunin mo dito. Now, kapag 100 ito, 27 yung magiging tao dito sa lower group, 27 din ang magiging tao dito sa higher group. Now, what if, say for example, 150 ang ating total number of students. Okay? 150 students ang in-arrange natin. Paano natin ngayon yan kukunin yung 27%? It's just like computing using the percentage formula. We will be multiplying 150 by 0.27. Wait lang. By 0.27. So, ganun yon. So, if we will multiply 150 by 0.27, we will come up with this. $150 divided by multiplied by 0.27, so that will be 40.5. Anyway, yung 0.5 is tao, so we can round up it as 41. So we will take 41 respondents or 41 individuals from the lower group and 41 individuals who will represent for the higher group, if the total number of students is 150. So approximately, this is the symbol for approximately, we will be getting 41 to represent the lower group, 41 who will represent for the upper group. Now, itong 41 na ito on the lower group, iba sila compared dito. Ibang mga tao ito compared doon sa mga tao na 41 dito sa high group. Automatic yan. Okay? Now, itong mga 41 na ito, so let's just consider it. Wait lang. So, from 50 students, we will be getting 41 on the lower group. For the upper group or higher group, we will also be getting 41. Okay? And itong remaining na students na to, automatic, we will disregard it. So ito yung concentration natin, itong 41 students na to on the lower group, and itong upper portion na ito or yung higher group natin na 41 among those 150 students. So, makikita nyo na ngayon, sino ngayon itong mga students na ito. Okay? So, ang gagawin ninyo, titignan nyo ngayon, among these 41 on the lower group, sino yung nakakuha nung item na yon. Okay? Then, bibilangin natin, and yung nakakuha, that will represent L in the formula of the discriminating power. And sino naman ngayon yung nakakuha ng item na yon among these 41 on the upper portion or on the higher group? So, bibilangin mo ulit kung ilan yung nakakuha, and this will represent capital letter U in the formula. So, let's go back. From the slide, as I said, the formula is given by U minus L divided by capital letter N. So, what does it mean? Yung U natin, mag-a-assume na lang tayo dito ng mga values. Okay, balikan lang natin yung formula para makita ninyo ulit. Ayan. So, ito yung formula ng ating discriminating power. So, yung U dito will represents the total number of students who got the item in the upper group, while L represents the total number of students who got the item correctly in the lower group. So, let's say, for example, in the given problem a while back, okay? So, let's say yung L natin is 20, and itong H natin is, let's say, 32. What does this mean? Itong 20 na ito, these were the students who got the item correctly among these 41 in the low group. While itong 32 na ito, this represents the total number of students who got the item correctly, that particular item correctly, among 41 in the higher group. So ito ngayon yung gagamitin nating mga values as the value of the values of the variables in the numerator of the formula. Okay? While n is the total number of students in each group. So paano natin kukunin 'yan? Total number of students in each group. It will be people, it will be 41. So, ilan ngayon yung n natin? It will be 41. Okay? So, in that case, let's go back. Itong 41 na ito, this will represent n. Take note on that. So, let's apply. Take note on the values. L is equal to 20. U is equal to 32, while N is equal to 41. Okay? Sulat ko lang. So let's apply. So the formula for the discriminating power is equal to U minus L over N. Okay, then we have U a while back to be 32, while L is 20 over capital letter N, which is equal to 41. So what is 32 minus 20? That is equal to 12. 12 over 41. So what is 12 over 41? Let's go back to our calculator. 12 over 41. 12 divided by 41 is equal to 0.29. Alright? So we have 0.29 as the discriminating power of this particular item. So 0.29. So what does it mean? The discriminating is 0.29. We will go back to our norm for interpretation. We will locate the location of 0.29 among the intervals. This will be our basis to interpret now whether we will reject that particular item or retain it. Okay? So 0.29 in the slide is we have yung 0.29 natin is lying at yung sa marginal discriminating item, okay, from 0.21 to 0.60, pero considered siya na marginal item lang in terms of its discriminating power. So anong gagawin natin ngayon? It's up to you. Magde-decide ka ngayon yan. Will I retain the item, or will I just revise the item, or maybe I will totally reject the item. So it's up to you as the test constructor if that index will fall from 0.21 to 0.29. Okay, so if I am the test constructor and I found out that the discriminating power of that item is 0.29, so ang gagawin ko lang ngayon is to retain it. Sayang naman yung item na ginawa ko. Okay, pero as what I'm saying a while back, if I have extra items that could represent that competency, that particular competency that they are talking about on those items na yon, I'll just automatically reject it. Okay? Kung hindi ka naman kontento doon sa item na 'yon kasi ganyan lang kaliit yung kanyang discriminating power, then ang gagawin mo and nasasayangan ka if you will disregard na lang siya totally. So ang possible na gagawin mo naman ngayon is to just revise the item. Okay? We will just revise the item in that case. So there will be 3 possible scenarios. If the items will fall from 0.21 to 0.29, I repeat, whether we will automatically reject it, or we can revise it, or maybe we can also retain it. So ganun lang yung gagawin natin on that particular interval. So take note on that. So this is discriminating power. So for your next activity, for today's meeting, I want you to go back with the previous activity given to you when you have computed the discriminating or difficulty indices of the items presented. You will also compute, all right? You will also compute the discriminating power of those items. I repeat, you will also compute the discriminating power of those items. So, per item ang computation ninyo dyan. I repeat, go back with the problem given to you with regards to difficulty index, the activity given to you last meeting. You will also compute for the difficulty or discriminating power of those items presented. Okay? So, this will be the end of this video. For the next video, it will focus on the other factors affecting test reliability. So thank you again for watching my video presentation. I hope you've learned something about this factor, which is very important factor when it comes to reliability of test instruments. So thank you guys for listening and watching to my video. God bless.